Everybody knows edibles fuck you up, man. Everybody knows that. I remember I was naive enough to eat like a whole cookie. I don't know how much THC it had. Probably a lot. And I swear to God, I had a panic attack so strong that I was gonna legit call 911. Legit call the ambulance and say, come here, take me to the hospital. I think something might be wrong with me. Okay, I had a panic attack on an edible one time. It passed away after like maybe 45 minutes. I managed to calm myself down, but I was freaking out. I was really freaking out. My heart rate was like pumping, and I just thought like, is this gonna be me forever? You know? And yeah, man, like, it was fucking intense. It was so intense. Like, at the time, now if I have that again, I'll know how to calm myself using certain breathing techniques, humming, etc. At the time, I didn't know these techniques to calm yourself down. Nevertheless, okay, this was nevertheless, right? I probably can calm myself down in that situation now. Just do the breathing, do some humming, you know. But at the time, I didn't know all these techniques. And nevertheless, it gave me a panic attack. I was fucking freaking out, man. I was scared for my life. And I didn't know that the way an edible is processed in the body is different than the way the THC is smoked. I just grabbed an edible because I didn't want to smoke, right? I was trying to be health conscious and shit. And I just don't want any smoke to go through my lungs. So I got an edible. I had no idea it's processed differently. You know, I didn't know that I've had edibles before, but they weren't strong enough for me to question whether or not there's a difference in processing. I always just assumed, you know, with an edible, there's more marijuana, there's more THC, so that's why it lasts you longer, and that's why it hits you differently. But this incident forced me to go and do some research on this and be like, okay, hold on, is this just only a dose thing, or is it processed differently? What's going on here? It turns out it's processed differently. When you smoke, the THC goes through the pathway of the lungs. When you eat it, the THC has to go through the liver, and a compound called 11-hydroxy THC is produced, goes through your brain, and has a really easier time going to your brain, going through the blood-brain barrier, causing the trip to be fucking hardcore, man, to be intense, man. And yeah, after that knowledge, after that experience, I've learned to really take it easy when it comes to edibles. I've had edibles since that experience, of course, but I've learned to really be careful with that shit, man. Be careful with it, because that one experience that I had where I was like panicking and I wanted to call an ambulance. I woke up the next morning. I swear to God, guys, I'm not fucking kidding here. I was still high. I was still fucking high. No, I'm not saying I was drowsy in this. I was, but I was high I was high, okay? I was still fucking high. Even after sleeping, I was still fucking high. It wasn't until midway through the next day that I began to sober up. Yeah, that shit can be intense, man. That shit can be intense. So yeah. So yeah, it's processed differently. It's processed differently, and the 11-hydroxy THC makes the trip, makes the marijuana, the THC potency and effectiveness and feeling in the body makes it a lot more intense. And I read somewhere up to 5 times as intense. And if you've experimented enough with edibles and with smoking, you can probably testify as to that number. 5 times more intense, probably even more. Probably in that case for me, it was like 10 times more intense. 10 times more intense. Now look, like now, if I find myself in that situation again where I'm freaking out because I ate too much, I have like techniques to calm myself down. The breathing, the Wim Hof breathing, the humming, the meditation. I can probably direct it better. But at the time, I was freaking out. I was freaking out. It caused me to freak out. So I'm very careful with eating edibles. I currently prefer smoking it. But I'm gonna be looking into getting a vape, because that's probably the best way to go about it. With edibles, it can fuck you up too much, and if you eat too much, it can even like affect your performance in life the next day. If you eat too much, you can literally wake up and still be high, or like be really, really drowsy, right? I'll also tell you guys a story about, this is for another video. I'll tell you guys a story about me eating edibles in Amsterdam. But I'll leave that for another video. I think vaping for me is the next step, because vaping takes away a lot of the harmful substances of smoking, and still gives you this nice buzz, this nice high, and it doesn't fucking cause you like a panic attack or some shit. Right? I think weed, you know, the dose is very important when it comes to weed. I think if you want to get, it depends what you're doing. If you're doing it just to get fucked up, by all means. But if you're doing it to maybe, I like to do it in a place like this. Usually whenever I do it, I come here to this place. And I like to do it a little bit, you know, a couple of tokes, 2-3 tokes, that's it. Not even hardcore tokes. Just enough to connect me more to source energy, connect me more to spirit, connect me to myself, get in a more meditative state. I like to do the Wim Hof breathing when I smoke weed, to get me to be more introspective, right? I don't know, man, with edibles, things go a little bit far for me. They get a little bit out of control. So yeah, that's about it, guys. God bless you all. May the spirit of the marijuana bless you wherever you are. I love every single one of you, but don't forget to subscribe or you're gonna sleep with the fishes.